Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute little pendant. I've put a list in the description below of everything you'll need to make it, along with links to my Facebook page, my Instagram and my Etsy shop. In my Etsy shop I sell all my finished jewellery and PDF tutorials, that's written tutorials that you can just follow along in your own time, and they've got like hundreds and hundreds of pictures for you to follow. To make this pendant you'll need 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut 3 lengths at 9 inches, that's 23 centimetres. You need 0.315mm weaving wire, and you'll need about 150 centimetres. Wound mine onto a bobbin. I'll put a link in the description below of where I buy my bobbins. If you don't have a bobbin, don't worry, you can just cut lengths as you go. I use these because it just stops the wire from flailing about. You'll need 0.8mm half round wire, just a little bit. I've cut 5 inches. If you don't have half round, then you can just use a little bit of weaving wire. Oval cabochon, mine is 10mm by 12, and you'll need 2 3mm beads. Tools, I've got my long nose pliers, my round nose pliers, wire cutters, nylon pliers. If you don't have nylon pliers, don't worry. I like to have these to hand to flatten the weaves and straighten the wires. I'll put links in the description below for if you want to buy tools. I'm using all Tronex tools at the minute, and those links are affiliate links if anyone's interested in buying tools. So I'm using square wire today. You can use round if you like. This pattern's very versatile. You can really use whatever you like. I'm using copper. You can use silver, silver filled, gold filled, whatever you like. I'm using copper square, and I've bought this wire from Rio. So find the centre point of the wires, holding all 3 together, and we're going to work just to the left of your thumb there from the centre point. So take your half round wire and put in the flat side against the wires. If you're using square, you have to make sure that it's all very flat. And then we're going to bend this half round around those wires. We're going to go round about 8 times. So push it together when you're done. Make sure it's central on your wires. I like to flatten mine. And then take your wire cutters, and we're going to cut it so it finishes just behind the wire, so we can't see the ends. So this is the front and this is the back. Take your pliers, covering half of them, half of the wraps. We're going to put a bend in that. So we've got a V, and the back is on the inside. So take your little oval stone. We're going to position it so the V sits at the bottom of the stone, so we've got a gap at the bottom of the stone. And then you want to hold your stone in place, and we're going to bend these wires around the stone. So now we've got a gap at the bottom and a gap at the top, and we want to keep that gap at the top. So where the wires meet at the top there, we want to bend our wires out. We do that for the both sides. So now we've got all our wires going straight up at the top. So you've got this shape around your stone. making sure that your wires don't cross over on the sides. Take your weaving wire. I've taken my stone out for now. And attach your weaving wire to the back wire, so we'll wrap 3 times around that back wire. Slide that down to sit just below the neck there where all the wires meet. And then holding it all together, you're going to take your weaving wire around the entire piece about 5 times. And then you wrapping around that back wire again about 3 times. So it's all held together at the top there. Going to cut that tail end. So we need to separate these side wires a bit, and it's easier to do it with square wire without the stone being in there. If you're using round wire, you can do it after you've popped your stone in. The square wire is a bit tougher. So you just need to separate the wires on the sides. So we'll turn to the back, making sure your wire does reach over the back of the stone a little. Take your pliers, and where the wire touches the bottom of the stone there, we're going to grab the wire with your pliers and holding it at the top, so you're holding it all in place at the top. We're just going to bend that wire in to hold the stone there. Do it for the other side as well, so if you can grab it in roughly the same place, make sure you've got a gap there, and then holding it at the top, so you're holding it all in place. We're going to bend that wire in as well. Then turn to the front and pull those wires forward at the front there. Grab the wire again at the bottom, quite close to the bottom this time, holding the top firmly in place, bend that wire in. Do the same for the other side, gripping it quite close to the bottom. Bend that wire in. So I'm just pushing everything flat against the stone. I'm going to pull my middle wire more central. So that's all securely held in place there. Now we're going to sort out these wires at the top. The 2 back wires, I'm going to push those together. And we're going to pull them to the back for now because we want them out the way. We're not using those at the minute. And then these 4 wires that are at the front there, I'm just separating those out a bit. We're going to work across those 4. Gracie snoring and muffin in her sleep. So just working across these 4, and we want a gap in the middle, but we don't want the gap to be too big. So about like that. I'm going to take my weaving wire around this bottom wire here. I'm going to go around it twice, and then I'm going to go around the bottom 2 wires twice, and then around that bottom wire twice again. Try and flatten that so you can see it a bit better. And I'm going to go straight over to the other side, and we'll go around that top wire. If you've got a different weave that you prefer to do across the 4 wires, then you can do that. You can do whatever you like here. So I've gone twice around that top wire, come underneath the second wire. I'm going to go twice around the 2 wires, so I'm doing the same weave on the other wires as I just did. So then I'll come up between them and I'll do 2 wraps around that top wire. So 2 wraps around the top wire, 2 wraps around both wires, 2 wraps around that top wire. So I've done the same on both sides. Trying to flatten that so you can see it a bit better. It's hard to get to it. So then coming straight over to this side, do exactly the same wrap again. So we go twice around the outer wire, twice around the 2 wires, and then twice around the outer wire again. And then we'll go over to the other side, same weave again, twice around the outer wire. Then I've come underneath that second one to go twice around those both wires. And I'll go up between the 2, and I'll go twice around that top wire. And over to this side. So we've got a bit of a figure of 8 weave going, crossing over the front there, and I'm going to do that another couple of times. So I've done a few more repeats of that weave. Now I'm bending my back 2 wires up to join them into this weave now. So now we're going to weave across all 6 wires. And my wire is at the top. So I've gone around the top wire. Then I'm going to go around the next wire. Then I'm going to go around the next one. And I'm going to do this all the way down to the bottom. Until I've gone around that bottom wire. So then I'm going to go around the bottom 2, and we need the wires to all be going straight up now. We don't want them going out anymore, we want them all going in a straight line. So I've gone around the bottom 2 wires and up between those 2. Then I'll go around the next 2, up between those 2. Then I will go around the next 2, up between them, around the next 2, up between them, over the top, and around that top wire. So that's a repeat. So now coming back down, we have to go around each wire. So you go around each one coming down, and you go around 2 going up. And I'm pushing my weave together with my pliers as I go. So we're going to repeat that weave. Just keep repeating that weave for a while. So I've done some more repeats of that weave. So we've got about 1 centimetre of the first weave, and then 1 centimetre of the next weave, roughly. So now we're going to do 1 centimetre of the first weave again. So we're going to take those middle 2 wires and bend them to the back, just out of the way. And we're going to take these 4 wires now, we're going to bend them in. And then where they meet at the top there, we're going to bend them back out. So we're going to take the weaving wire. The last wrap was around the top, so I've gone around that top wire. So I'm going to take the weaving wire over, straight over, all the way to the bottom wire. We're going to go twice around that, twice around both wires. So we're doing the same weave as we did earlier, only this time it's going to keep slipping, so you've got to keep holding it all together, and then 2 wraps around that bottom wire, pushing it down to make sure it's all compressed together. Take it straight over and around the outer wire at the top. Just go around that twice, then around the 2 wires, same as we did before, only this time it's going to keep sliding, and then twice around that top wire, press it down, and then come straight over this side again and around this outer wire. So 2 wraps around the outer wire, 2 wraps around both wires, 2 wraps around the outer wire, and then move to the other side. You've got to keep pressing it together as you go. And we'll keep repeating that weave until we get to where our wires meet here. So I've repeated that weave till it's reached the top there. And then I'm going to add those 2 wires back in. And I'm going to wrap around 2 wires and the 2 wires at the back there, just to hold those together a little bit. And then I'll wrap around this one a couple of times just to finish off the wire. So we've got those 2 back wires held into it again. We're going to bend this bail, and I'm actually going to be using my bail pliers. If you haven't got bail pliers, you can use anything that size, a paintbrush, crochet hook, you could use a pencil. I'm just going to grip it where the big weave is in the middle, and I'm going to bend that weave around so that it comes together at the bottom there. So what we want to do is we want these 2 back wires to go through that gap there. So I'm going to pull a bit of a space there, and I'm going to bend these wires through to go through that gap above the stone, being careful not to push the stone out. and then put that back in there. So I've got those 2 wires that went straight down, going through the gap there to the front. Just going to straighten those a little bit. And those will go straight up. So we've got 4 wires coming out, 2 on each side, and the 2 middle wires have come straight up the front there. So your weaving wire is finished with 3 wraps around that back wire there. So we're going to bring the wire up to the front and we're going to weave across these front 2 wires. And I'm going to go 3 wraps around the bottom wire. I'm going to go 2 wraps around the bottom wire just to attach it onto there. And go straight over the top wire and around that top wire again. Underneath the back wire and around that bottom wire. And that's our repeat. So we go over the top wire and around it. Around it again and underneath the bottom wire and around that wire. So we go straight over the top and around that wire. Around that wire again, underneath the bottom wire, around that bottom wire. We'll keep repeating that. So I've done more repeats of that weave. And keep pushing your weave together to make it tidy. And I'm going to finish with 2 wraps on that bottom wire. I'm going to cut that weaving wire. And then holding the new weave against the bail, I'm going to bend these wires out at the top. So now I'm going to wrap it around the bail. So I'm going to hold it at the front in place. And I'm going to take this wire through the bail to the other side. But I'm holding the front firmly in place so I don't misshape that. And we'll do the same with the other one as well. So I'm going to scoop that around and post that one through the bail too. I find square wire so much tougher than round wire to work with. So if you're doing this with round, this bit could be a lot easier. Just trying to get the shapes right. So to secure that in place around that bail, I'm going to squeeze that there. And I'm going to squeeze it there. It pushes it flat against the bail. I'm going to cut these wires off so they just bend around a little bit. And that one there. And that'll make sure that it doesn't come away from the bail. So now working across the 4 wires that we've got here, we're going to keep the top 2 as they are, but I'm going to twist the bottom 2. So I'm just grabbing hold of it, the end of it with my pliers, and I'm going to twist it around and around. So I've got a pretty little twist. And I'm going to do that for this wire as well. So if you're using round wire, that won't have any effect if you twist that at all. So you could add coils just to make it look a little bit different, or you could just leave it as a bare wire. It'll be absolutely fine. It'll still look lovely. So I'm going to take these bare wires now, and I'm going to bring it around to the front, and I'm going to scoop it around and out to the side like that. I'm going to do the same for this other bare wire. Bring it straight to the front, bend it around, try and copy the other one so they look similar. So I'm going to take my weaving wire and I'm going to attach to one of these wires, the bare wires. I'm going to wrap around 3 times. I'm going to slide that up to sit just at the top where that little gap is. I'm going to cut that off my bobbin, just left a short length still attached. Pop one of the little 3mm beads on there. I'm going to adjust it so I can fit the bead to sit above, and I'm going to take the weaving wire around that second wire 3 times. So we've got a little bead at the top there. I'm going to cut this weaving wire at both ends. So now take the twisted wire, and I'm going to bring that, I've taken it over that bare wire there, bring it to the front. I'm going to curl that around 2. Same on this side. This wire to come to the front of that one. I'm holding it here at the back and I'm going to bend it to the front and take it around to scoop as the other one did. And then holding it all in place at the front, we're going to bend these wires to the back when you're happy with the shape. So when you're happy with the shape of the wires at the front there, we're going to hold them firmly in place and we're going to take the twisted wire around and through that middle gap and secure it around that bottom part there. We'll do the same with the other side. Holding it firmly at the front to keep it in place. Pop it through the middle there. And keep adjusting your size and your shapes until you're happy with it. And when you are happy with it, then you need to secure these wires around here. Oops. And I'll do the same with that one as well. Just wrapping it around that bottom wrap there. So these two wires here now, the bare ones, they're going to secure to that back wire there. So what we need to do is make a gap so the wire can go round those wires. Holding it in place at the sides and the front. I'm going to bend those wires over the back and cut them short. And then using round those pliers, I'm going to secure that wire. Again, I'm holding it all together so I don't misshape it too much. Take it around that back wire there. And do the same for the other one. Holding it all in place. Make sure you've got a gap there. Pop that wire around that back wire. Have a look at the shape of your wires. Make sure you're happy with the shape of them. It's all about fiddling and adjusting the wires until you're happy with the shapes, and my bead a little bit higher. I want that side there to be a little bit higher. does take it out on your nails as well. This square wire is really tough. So now just to add that little last bead at the bottom, take a short piece of weaving wire and pop your bead on there. Position the bead in the middle. I'm going to pop both pieces of wire through there. And then I'm going to secure this. I'm going to secure these wires, holding the bead in place there at the front by going around that back wire there. And the other one also going around that back wire. So I've wrapped around 3 sides, 3 times on each side. So attach that little bead at the bottom there. And that's it, we're done. Little pendant for you today. The only other thing I'm going to do is chop off a bit of these length off these wires that have wrapped around there, so that we haven't got any sharp bits sticking out. And there we have it. I hope you found this tutorial easy to follow. Please mention me when you're sharing your finished work online. Please don't show in progress images, as I would like you to send people here. If anyone wants to make this, I want them to come here and do it from my video. So please don't share in progress images or images of the back. And feel free to sell the jewellery that you make from my tutorials. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next video. Bye.